Talking to Mr. Ron Crowder, and the topic is the impact of AIDS on African Americans. And of course, Mr. Crowder, before we had our first break, we promised that we'd give you an opportunity to talk about the organization that you found, that is StreetWorks. And I understand that that organization, as you've indicated, is located in one of the high-risk areas and one of the public housing areas over in Joe Johnston. Let's talk about your experiences in that organization and at that particular place.
Okay, again, we're located at 1431 Joe Johnston Avenue in the housing sites at John Henry Hill Housing Project. Our hours of operation is mainly 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. What we found out that there was a gap in services. While there's a lot of HIV agencies that does education, prevention, and care, what we saw was no one was in the streets during the hours when there was the greatest need for that type of work. And so we started StreetWorks to address that need. We have what we call a outreach drop-in center located there, whereby we allow people to come in. We distribute educational materials. We distribute free safer sex kits, which include condoms and you know, and information about HIV and how to protect yourself and how to prevent yourself from getting HIV. We also allow, we deal with what is known in the field as hard to reach population, and those are injection drug users, alcohol and other drug users, and sex industry workers. Now, when we say sex industry workers, we are talking about people who mostly trade sex for drugs, mostly. And you know, that's a big problem with crack cocaine in the inner city, you know. And so we try to address those needs. We allow people to come in if they need to take a shower, get something to eat, and we do that in that we, while they are making a sandwich or taking a while they're making a sandwich, that allows us to do an intervention and talk about their risk behaviors and how we can reduce those risks, what we need to do to reduce those risks. The other thing we do is HIV testing right on the spot. We use the OraSure testing, which means we don't have to use any blood. We can do a oral swab, and we can do a test in maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Then we have the results in 2 days. The results go out to, the tests go out the next day. They fax the results in a couple of days. So people can learn their status. If those tests, if the tests come back negative, then we do what we call post-test counseling, talk about how we're going to keep the test negative. And in the fact that the tests come back positive, then we link them to medical services and case management. We also have case management services. We have a housing case manager for those who need housing. And so we're doing a lot of work over there, and I must say that's thanks to our collaboration also with MDHA, because they provide the space. And our funding comes from the round white funding sources, a grant called HOPWA, which is Housing Opportunities for People with AIDS. We also have a grant from the state of Tennessee, the prevention grant. And so, you know, we're working.
And so there's been quite a bit. Now, these individuals who happen to come by and take advantage of your services, what are their reactions when they find out, if they're not aware that they have this disease, what are their reactions when they take one of these tests and they find out that they are positive for HIV or AIDS?
Well, it's just like anybody else's reaction, but, you know, I must say we've conducted probably, I want to say right at 1,000 tests, close to it. And we've only had maybe 2 or 3 positives. So the rate, either we're testing the wrong people or the stats is not in that area. One of the things we have found out that probably those who are at the highest risk is not those who are taking the test. So, and that's kind of hard too. It's hard to test people who don't want to be tested.
And so are you suggesting that perhaps people might suspect from just common knowledge and common street talk and et cetera that they might be perhaps infected by this disease, but at the same time they're not willing to take that extra step in order to determine whether or not they truly have it scientifically or medically. Is that what?
Well, what I'm saying is this, and this is what I know. I know that there's between 240 and 325,000 African Americans walking around with HIV. That's in the whole United States. It's around 14,000 in Tennessee. Now, what I do know is that a third of those people that has HIV don't know that they have it. And my job is to identify those people in the Davidson County or Middle Tennessee region who has HIV and don't know it, and that's how we're doing that.
And so you think that you're really reaching a good sizable population, and that you're doing a real work in that particular area?
Absolutely. I think that those people who are at an increased risk for HIV are not the ones who's actually getting tested. And so our job is to somehow get those people in, get them tested, and get them their results. That's our job.
And of course, when you the better you are at doing that, the more effective you will be able to curb the impact that this is having on African Americans.
And Dr. Haney, just let me go one step further. You know, as from previous shows, I am a person living with full-blown AIDS, and now having HIV is not like having HIV in 1982 or 1992 when they first discovered. Medical advances has gotten this disease almost to a chronic illness, but people in their mind from previously reported stuff about HIV still think that this is, once someone tell you you got HIV, it's a death sentence. It is no longer a death sentence. It's almost a chronic illness, not like diabetes or any of the other chronic illnesses. It's well managed. People are living longer and longer with HIV.
And so what we need to do really is to provide more resources so that individuals can have access to the kind of medicine that you need. Now, we also understand that over the last 26 seconds that this is very, very expensive medicine that they have to use in order to do.
But in Tennessee, with TennCare, all the medicine on the formula is on TennCare's formula. So a person with HIV in Tennessee has access to the same medicine as Magic Johnson.
Okay, and of course we'll end this segment today here of Ms. Crowder, and we'll be back with our audience for our final segment following this very, very short commercial break. We're talking to Mr.